Welcome to my review of the AUTOart 18th scale Lotus Turbo Esprit Essex edition and the 18th scale by AUTOart still Lotus Esprit Series 1. Both of these cars are die-cast metal, and they are modelling initially the first car from Lotus that had the Esprit name was this Series 1. Some of you will recognise this shape from the early Bond films that in the mid-70s that had a white one of these that was submersible. Again, this is similar to the Lotus Turbo that came in a kind of a bronze colour, copper colour, or a white colour in a later James Bond film in the early 80s. So, Lotus being a British sports car manufacturer, typically fiberglass cars they were making right from the 60s, and when it came to the mid-1970s, they got Colin Chapman to style themselves quite a dramatic two-seater sports car, very low car. I've seen these around. There aren't many around, especially the earlier ones, with the original gyro body shape before it was facelifted in the late 80s by Peter Stevens, who also styled the McLaren F1 road car of the early to mid 1990s. So here is the Series 1, very basic, very 70s style wheels there. This car has steering, so you can leave it in a sensible spot. You don't want to have it on too high a lock because the kingpin isn't in the correct place, so the wheel sticks out too much. It's not, and moves too far back in the wheel arch. That shouldn't, it looks like, so I tend to keep them straight ahead. It's got opening doors, so you can see inside the car. A very 70s style interior in there. See if I can get a better light in there. Not very good at the moment. Oh, there we go, a bit better there. Yeah, okay. And sports seats. If you get the white version, which is modelled actually after the James Bond car with the correct number plate, you end up with tartan seats, and it's quite a nice car. Now let's see, does the front open? Yep. We've got a frunk there with a spare wheel and washer and the brake master cylinder in there too at this side. Okay, nice detail. And the engine compartment cover opens at the back. There's this one's, being the early car, doesn't have so much need for cooling. It's got a glass hatch. I mean, obviously in the model it's plastic, and then it's got an engine cover. So this kind of doubles as a luggage compartment plus the engine cover. If I can get that out, we'll be able to have a quick peek at the 4-cylinder twin cam 2-litre engine. So definitely a small engine. So people thought it was a bit strange. It looked like a supercar, but it wasn't really that powerful a car. Right, to get that engine cover off, I had to shut the hatch to about there, because having the hatch wide open, this part fouled this. Sorry. I had to have the hatch open to about there, because if I had it upright, then this part along here just fouled this engine cover, which I've just taken off. And we'll have a quick look at the 4-cylinder. It's on a slant, this engine, to make sure the motor sits low in the car, so you can have a low body line. 4 Weber carburetors, I'm guessing they might be, I'm not 100% sure. There's the airbox there. The Citroen SM gearbox at the back, taken from the front-engined Maserati engined V6 Citroen SM, so it was all the correct way round for perfect transplantation into a Lotus Esprit. Also used in the DeLorean, which is basically a Lotus Esprit, so with a different body. So let's pop that one down, but I'm just going to show you the back of the car there. Again, quite a sporty car. Nice detail, very 70s logo on the side there, Esprit, and very 70s Lotus logo on the front, not the traditional badge. And there we have it. Detail on the bottom, very basic, but it's there nonetheless. Anyway, so there we go, and we'll notice these wing mirrors, very 70s aerodynamic wing mirrors, and that's actually a problem for the newer model. So after the Series 1 Esprit here, you had the Series 2, which was also naturally aspirated, not a turbo. Then you had the Series 3, which also came as the Turbo Esprit. So instead of being called the Esprit Turbo, it was called a Turbo Esprit, because back in 1981-ish, turbos were a big thing, really a big deal, quite something special. So looking at the logos again, there we've actually got a representation of the Lotus badge on there, and the Essex logo, and then Turbo Esprit. And on normal Turbo Esprits you had Turbo Esprit written here, but on this one you've got an Essex livery and logo there. But because this is an early car, it's got split rim alloys from BBS. Later Turbo Esprits, only a few hundred cars in, had a one-piece wheel. So this is quite unusual. And in the roof you have a console up there for controlling things like the hi-fi and the ventilation up along the roof. So that's only available on these first cars. So there we're looking into the interior, very similar interior to the early car. The seats much more padded and 80s, and quite a plush leather interior really from the early suede cars. Let's open the driver's side door. So this is a right-hand drive car, it being a British company. We drive on the left over here, manual, but very nice car. Obviously the windows on both of these models are wound down, the main windows. Now I was talking about the wing mirrors, and here you've got an 80s car with bigger wing mirrors, which if you buy a second-hand one of these, they are often, one of those wing mirrors will often be broken, which is a real shame, and many a car has been ruined by that. So specific to the turbo, you've got this larger spoiler. You've got the Series 2 and 3 lights on the back, but you've got that there being a bigger spoiler. So because it's a turbo, you've got more cooling and more heating, and so you've got these louvered engine cover without a glass panel inside, but with a direct feed up from the engine. Now you'll notice in here there's much less luggage space, but I guess that's to represent a fabric cover there, so luggage would go under that, but I can remove that nice and easily. And there you've got the plenum chamber for the air coming up from the turbo. So basically this is a 2.2 litre evolution of the 2 litre in the Series 1 and Series 2, and you also had the non-turbo Series 3 also had the 2.2 litre engine with 160 horsepower, and this had 210 horsepower as the non-high compression engine. Later it was changed a little bit to give higher compression, but it's still a slant for the same thing, and nicely coloured in red there to represent that crackle finish that you'd have on the head and the plenum and things like that. So Morris Marina door handles. So they would, a small manufacturer like this would take all sorts of parts from the parts bin of companies like British Leyland at the time. But so this was the last shape evolution of the original gyro design before the lines got softened and rounded by Peter Stevens. Let's have a look on the bottom. There we go. And yeah, I actually have a smaller 1/43 scale, again steering wheels, 1/43 scale, and actually those wheels, when you steer the wheels, the steering wheel actually turns too. I don't know if we can see that. Maybe. I've actually got a 43rd scale one of these by Mini Champs, which is actually a James Bond replica car with the skis on the top, which I mentioned earlier. Again with the 3-piece alloys, and this will have the roof console, but harder to see in there because obviously we can't open the doors. But you might get a better look at the lighter interior. So that's quite a nice 43rd scale model. Various other companies make this model, but Mini Champs obviously do a pretty good job with this one. Okay, thanks for watching my video. There are other videos on my Lotus Essex collection and various other cars. So do subscribe to the channel and do have a look at what else I've got. Thanks for watching.